Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Study in Canada Pre-Departure Orientation done by the Canadian Education International Indonesia. So I'm the director of CI Indonesia. My name is Wely Kustono, and this event is made possible through the support of Embassy of Canada and Co-Create, as well as many Permikas or Indonesian student associations that will be joining us today. Before I begin, I would like to say Happy Canada Day to everyone. We've just celebrated our Canada Day on July 1st, but we're still within that week. So I think it's still safe to say that. And of course, congratulations to all of you who are here. That means you have undergone a lot of efforts and challenges, finishing with your school, doing very well, obviously, because you have been admitted to prestigious institutions across Canada. Congratulations for going through the entire admission process, as well as I've noticed in your response during registration that most of you have already submitted your study permit applications. So all these require a great deal of process, and congratulations that you have gone through all of them. But of course, it's not done. There are still many things that need to be prepared in advance with regards to your study preparation, your trip preparation. This is going to be a wonderful journey ahead of you. And the purpose of today's event is to ensure that it can be as smooth as possible. So thank you very much for joining us this morning, and we hope all of the sessions and materials that have been prepared today will be beneficial for all of you. And of course, congratulations to all parents joining this session. Well done. You've been supportive to your children throughout the entire process, and hopefully this event will be beneficial for you as well. Now, for your information, this session is recorded for internal purposes only, so we will not be publicize this entire recording. We may edit a portion of the session and post it on our social media, YouTube, and other media platforms, but we will not be posting the entire session. So if you find any information useful, you can note it down, or you're welcome to take a screenshot, but the recording itself will not be made available. And we also have allocated a Q&A session at the end of the session. So if you have any questions, you are welcome to submit those questions in the chat box. And as the moderator, I will go through those questions, and I will do my best, hopefully, to answer all of the questions submitted. So if you have any questions throughout the entire presentation, you don't have to wait until the actual Q&A to submit your question. You can submit them anytime, and then we will try to go through them. Of course, we will not be answering any personal questions regarding study permit application. If you are wondering about when it's going to come out or when it's going to be issued, we will not be able to answer them. But any general questions that will be relevant to everyone participating at this session, we will do our best to answer them. And just a quick overview of today's session. We will start with a session done by me as an overview of things that you need to be focusing on or preparing ahead of your journey or ahead of your flight to Canada. So I'll be focusing on that a bit. And then I will also share from my experience, highlighting some of the skills that you need to hone as you have already in Canada as you are doing your study, what you need to be focusing on. So I'll do a little bit of that, but not so much because I have an expert from Co-Create doing that, and that's Coach Linda, who is going to do her own session about the tips and skills needed to thrive and to be successful in Canada. Finally, we will also have a session with the visa section from the Embassy of Canada, where you will be listening in about the information about study permit application and the process, because there are some of you, I've noticed in your registration info, that you have not started your study permit application. But we will also focusing on other things as well about work opportunities in terms of the permits required for you to be able to work while studying in Canada. We'll be talking about the post-graduation work permit and also other matters. So hopefully this very packed session will be useful for all of you. So without further ado, now it's 9:15 and my session is supposed to be for the next 30 minutes. So hopefully sit back, relax. Hopefully there is a hot coffee or tea right in front of you. And let's have a great time this morning. So let me begin with this, everyone. I know it probably a cliche, or maybe you have heard this a lot, but I like to remind everyone the importance of keeping a balance in whatever you do. And that includes your journey to Canada, which of course is to study, but I strongly encourage you to have a balance between your daily life, or whether you study, whether you explore Canada, and especially if you are also planning to work in Canada while studying, whether on campus, off campus, or maybe doing co-op or internship. It's very important to make sure that you have a proper balance between those three, because only then you can have a true success and to have a full exposure to maximize your experience while in Canada. So in order for you to do that, of course, you need to first understand that Canada is a massive country. There are a lot of things that you can explore that is going to be part of your learning, is going to be part of your life. And regardless where you are going to be, whether you're going to be studying in BC or Alberta or Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, or other provinces, you are welcome and you are strongly encouraged to explore all of these places. It will kind of be sad if you finish your 2 year study or your 4 year study and you haven't had the chance to explore this beautiful country and all the provinces and everything that they have to offer. Okay, so next, this is just a quick snapshot of what to be expected. The diversity of Canada is not just in terms of the natural scenery or the major cities in Canada. When we are talking about diversity in Canada, really we are talking about the people, the culture, the religion, the lifestyle, the culinary, and even all the different architectural landscapes that are out there, whether natural landscape or even all the buildings. So there are a lot of things that you can explore. So make sure you don't miss any of this. Now, I'm sure everyone is here to learn about the practical stuff. What needs to be prepared ahead of time before you take on this wonderful journey. So let's get practical. Use this checklist. Now, this checklist, I have used it myself, and I have also shared this with many students in every PDO that we have done all these years. And this checklist remains relevant and it is very useful to be used as reference as you are preparing for your trip. Now, Of course, all COVID-related travel restrictions have been removed, so there is nothing to worry about it anymore. However, these are some of the items that you need to prepare. So all of the important documents that you have used throughout this time for your school applications, as well as your study permit applications, I encourage you to keep them. Make copies, at least two, and one original. So bring this while having another copy left at home just in case. And of course, before you leave, you have to make sure that you have already got the temporary resident visa, which is a sticker pasted on your passport. And that visa is to help you to enter Canada. And you're welcome to, start making reservation for your airline tickets as well. I see a lot of travel fairs are happening now, so hopefully you can get good deals for your airline tickets. Now, even though you are applying for a study permit, you will not be getting the physical study permit while you are still in Indonesia. So what you are getting instead is a port of entry letter of introduction issued by the visa section. Basically, if you get this letter, that means your study permit application is approved. But you will only get the physical copy of study permit once you have arrived in Canada. So by showing this port of entry letter of introduction, you'll be directed to the counter where the study permit will be issued for you. And remember, you have to do this at your first point of entry, because even though most of you are probably going to fly to Vancouver and Toronto, but some of you may need to have domestic flights to the final city. So if you do that, you still need to get your study permit at the first point of entry when you first arrive in Canada. So keep that in mind. And keep your letter of offer and letter of acceptance. Even though you've been accepted, please keep the document, and I'll let you know why. And if you have made payments for your tuition fees or deposit, there must be receipt issued. Make sure you keep that as well. Proof of funds that you have used for your study permit application, please keep that handy as well, including other academic documents like your high school transcript or maybe your university transcript, your high school diploma, your university degree, your TOEFL IELTS score, anything that you have used previously for your school application, keep them handy as well. So for all these documents that I've just highlighted to you, keep the original with you, bring it to Canada along with two copies, and also leave another copy at home in Indonesia just in case. Now, you may have different accommodation arrangements, but for Canadian contact info, it'll be good to have them. And if you are arranging for airport pickup service, either by a friend in Canada or relative in Canada, or maybe your homestay, or maybe your school, make sure you have their contact information. And that means their email address, their phone number, or their mobile number. It's also a good idea to have a number to your school international student center or international student office, or maybe the on-campus housing in case you also need to reach them for emergency. Mobile devices, a laptop, mobile phone, battery charger, adapters are encouraged that you can bring them from Indonesia, so you don't have to look for it, especially right away when you arrive in Canada. So you will already have them. Keep in mind that the voltage in Canada is 110 volts, not 220, but majority of mobile devices today are all adaptable already, so that should be fine. Petty cash, I do not encourage you bringing too much cash on your hand. Up to Canadian 2000 will be good enough. That should be sufficient at least for 1 month. And most of the time, you have already set up your bank account within days after arriving in Canada, and then transferring money from Indonesia to Canada are usually going to be just a couple of days. So really, cash up to 2000 Canadian dollars will be enough. Try to get smaller bills. I think Canadian dollar can go all the way to 100, and you can easily break them, but it would be good idea to have like 50s and 20s, so it will be easier to use. Of course, in Canada, all most transactions are usually cashless as well, but you can definitely pay by cash. They are definitely acceptable. Personal items, personally, I will not encourage bringing too many of this, like, toiletries, towel, bed sheet, blanket, pillow, because most likely all this will be available for you. But unless you're the kind of person that cannot sleep unless you bring your own bed sheet or blanket or pillow, then no choice. You gotta bring them, but make sure you do have limited check baggage allowance with the airline. So only bring the useful stuff. So toiletries, okay. Glasses, contact lens, stationaries, maybe. Scratch out dictionary because you can get the dictionary app these days in mobile device. But try to pack efficiently. So two tips for that. Pack it yourself. Don't let anybody else pack it for you. I know moms, parents, if you're listening to this, I know you probably would like to be the one packing, and you're probably gonna packing the whole 7-Eleven or Kmart in your children's bag, but do not do that. So let your children do it. It's going to be a journey for them. So let them do it right now, from now on. So pack yourself, pack your own bag, and do not overpack. Uh, Keep in mind the airline's policy on check baggage allowance. These days, it's not just two bag space concept. It's not that simple. Some airlines now they have uh, cheaper tickets, but it only allows one bag, for example. So make sure you check on it, how many bags allowed. And each bag is usually about 23 kilograms. And you can bring hand carry up to seven in the cabin. So make sure you check with the respective airlines, especially once you have made your ticket reservation. Keep an eye on their prohibited, restricted, dangerous items. Make sure that you don't have them. Your power banks need to be in hand carry, not in checked baggage. I think that's the universal policy now for every airline. So keep an eye on all those restrictions as you pack your own bag. Okay. Now, keep important and original documents. I've mentioned that in your hand carry. Do not put it in your checked baggage because things sometimes may happen, and you want to keep all those important and valuable items and documents in your hand carry with you at all times. Now, this one highlighted in red is very important. You can download this app in Apple Store or in Android for the latest version of the ArriveCan mobile app, and you can submit your immigration declaration via this app and your custom declaration as well. Um, and you need to do this up to 72 hours in advance before flying to Canada. So when I say this flight to Canada, that means the later segment, because there is no direct flight from Indonesia to Canada. So you have to transit somewhere. So the 72 hours counting from that last flight flying to Canada from your transit station. Okay. When you do this, what basically happens is when you arrive at your port of entry, you can go to the kiosk. And these are self-help kiosks where you can just scan your passport, and all these declaration will be printed out, and you don't have to go through the immigration counter talking to immigration officer. You can just show the printout, and they will let you to the baggage conveyor to pick up your bag. So it's very convenient, and it's basically a much express lane than if you have to line up and talk to the immigration officers. But you don't have to. Okay, so this is an option, but you don't necessarily have to download this ArriveCan mobile app and use it if you don't want to. Okay, keep in mind to check in early. Most airline will allow up to 3 hours early for check-in time before departure. And these days you can online check-in, although you still need to drop your bags. So keep in mind on that. Check all boarding passes and the bag tags. In most cases, they are going to be tagged all the way to your point of entry in Canada. So that means if you are flying, your final destination is in Vancouver or Toronto, then you pick up your bags there and then off you go. But if you have domestic transit, meaning like you still have domestic flight within Canada to your final destination, you still need to pick up your bags most of the time in Vancouver and Toronto, or whichever uh, first port of entry in Canada. And then you have to check in again for your domestic flight, which means you have to keep an eye because there is limited time usually for between your arrival to your next flight, to your next domestic flight. So make sure that you come prepared, so you will not be taking too much time at any particular point, and you can make your flight. You can catch up your flight. Stay alert during transit, and that's very important because a lot of time the transit stations can be the transit airports can be very big. There can be multiple terminals, so make sure you know the next boarding gate. You may not necessarily know the information when you check in at Soekarno Hatta or whichever airport you are checking in from Indonesia, but when you arrive at transit, usually that information will be available, and you need to get that information right away. You know exactly where the boarding gate. Don't get distracted with all the duty-free stores. Make sure that you know where the boarding gate is and how to get there. And then, if you still have time, you're welcome to explore. Now, if you're not using the self-help kiosk, when you are meeting the immigration officers, these are some of the questions expected to be asked by them, and that's why the documents that you have had in your hand carry may come in handy. So they might be asking for purpose of visit, and obviously that's to study. How much money are you bringing into the country? What and where to study? So all this information like purpose of visit, what and where to study, they are available in your letter of acceptance, right? So having that document handy will be helpful. Now, I don't usually notice this question being asked a lot of what to bring, but it would be a good idea to have like a small note listing the items that you pack in your checked baggage and that you bring in your hand carry. So if that question is asked, then you can also produce this list. But it's basically generally it's a good idea to have that. And if you pack it yourself, you probably already know what you are bringing to the country. Again, for the money, I remind you not to bring too much cash. Anything above 10,000 Canadian dollars, you need to declare in Canada, but anything below that, you don't need to. And I think personally, Canadian 2,000 for your petty cash for the next couple of weeks in Canada should be enough. Now, again, I need to remind you, always check your documents, especially now you're on your own. You'll be signing documents in many cases when you are signing up for a mobile phone deal. If you are opening a bank account, make sure you sign, make sure you read all those documents before you sign, okay? And I also remind everyone the importance to attend your student orientation day. All of the universities, polytechnics, colleges, institutes, or schools in Canada will organize a student orientation day for new students to come in. So make sure you don't miss that unless it's an absolute emergency. But I strongly encourage you to be present because that's the day when you will be visiting campus, serving the campus, having a campus tour, maybe even doing some course enrollment or placement or assessment tests if needed. You may be, doing administrative work like student ID stuff and so on. So be there if you can. But I strongly also encourage you, even before the orientation day, make time to visit the campus, be familiar with the public transit system, how to get there, be familiar with the different buildings on campus so you know what to expect on the day of the orientation. So you will not be lost and be late for your orientation or for your class. Now, you don't have to do this next one immediately, but I also encourage you to be in touch with the Indonesian embassy or the consulates. The embassy is in Ottawa, the consulates is in Toronto or Vancouver. But even if you are in not in none of those cities, you can also still engage the embassy or the consulate and report your status as an international student in Canada by doing it online. Okay. I've seen permicas and embassies or consulates are doing activities, and it's always good to be connected. So whenever you are in need, especially in emergency, just a very quick example: if your passport is lost, or maybe if your passport has expired, then obviously you have to go to the embassy or the consulate to issue a new passport. So be connected. Usually they have wonderful Independence Day celebration, and if you are Miss Indonesian Culinary, yeah, that would be a good reason for you to join their event as well. All right, so I've talked about setting up banking. It's very easy. You can do it, within the day. Usually, they'll just be asking for identification like passport and your visa, and then they will be able to set up the bank account for you. Usually, try to choose either checking or saving account. Checking account, then you can write checks, especially for bigger sum. But saving account is basically the standard that you have to go with. And with that, you will be issued a debit card. You will be issued a debit card for checking account as well. And this is probably the card that you will use for most of your cashless transactions. You can use the debit card. Now, if you have credit card with you, God bless your parents. But just use the credit cards during emergency because usually the exchange rate in credit cards are pretty high, so it may not be as favorable. So you're welcome to use the debit card instead, or the checking for the bigger amount. For internet, the three main companies are Rogers, Telus, and Bell across Canada. Within each company, they have different products or different product lines. So you are welcome to choose the mobile package that suits you. And of course, health insurance. This is very important. Now, depending on where you are studying, you may be entitled either for a provincial health insurance program, or is the institutional health insurance program built into your tuition fee. So depending on that, you have to check with your respective institution to figure out which one. If it's built in the tuition fee, usually the health insurance will start right away for you as a student. If it's provincial, you have to be physically in Canada first, and after that, you can apply for the health insurance program. Now, if you want to work in Canada during study, either working off campus or maybe doing co-op, it is required for you to have a social insurance number. So that is also something that you can ask the International Student Office for assistance. You have to apply this yourself, but you may ask for how to do it and what to prepare. And of course, these days you can just Google this yourself, how to apply for social insurance number in Canada, and you will be able to find all the information you need. And just a few more final tips, practical tips for you. If you are going on homestay, if you're not staying in dormitory on your own, I strongly encourage you this next tip. Because most of the time, in my experience talking to a lot of students, one of their challenge while they transition in Canada is with their homestay. Remember, this homestay is a real family, and they open their home to you to stay with them. Yes, you pay for this homestay, but it's not a hostel, it's not a hotel, or it's not like a cost di Indonesia. So treat them as a family, and that will go along the way. Spend time with the host parents, with their family members. Don't just be a stranger. I have some cases, very special cases, of course, because most of you are probably thinking of moving to a place of your own after you have met a couple of friends, maybe share an apartment or a condo, and that's perfectly fine. But there are special cases where I see students end up staying in homestay throughout their entire study because they have a very good experience with the family and would like to carry on staying with them. Okay, and participate in Indonesian or international student associations or clubs, um, local religious communities, so you can still be connected to your origin. So yeah, with the Indonesian diaspora. And again, very important, take your time to explore the city first and then the rest of Canada. But of course, what I meant by exploring the city is you need to use the public transport system so that way you'll be familiar with all the public transports that are available. Basically, in most major cities in Canada, public transport are very convenient and basically will be able to get you from here and there. So make sure you explore that. Okay, so the last 5 minutes, I will not be spending too much time because I think you have heard this a lot. Yes, you are going to experience cultural shock for sure, and you're probably going to go through all these 5 stages. How long you are going to go through each stage, that depends on how you respond. But yes, you are going to experience the honeymoon stage, probably the hostility stage to a certain degree, depending on how you respond. But the important thing is how you adjust. Because once you are able to respond and adjust correctly, then you will be able to go through all these stages quite swiftly, and you will be settled and how to respond and how to adjust. That's the important one. So learn about the Canadian culture before leaving home. Pack some mementos from home and keep your communication with their family. It's very important. In fact, I encourage you to always be in touch with your parents, with your family throughout your entire journey, starting from boarding the flight, when you are in transit, when you have arrived, and so on. Try to have a weekly, scheduled call maybe with your family. And these days it's very easy and very cheap because basically it's free with the internet. So do that. Ask questions to the right people if you are unsure of something. I will talk about that a little bit. Talk to other international students in Canada about their experience. Get advice or maybe tips from them. Use the professional support service available to you at your institution, and that means the international student counselors, the academic counselors. Get into local communities, participate in group events, be open to new experience and ideas, and also make friends with Canadian friends, not just Indonesian friends. And try to relax and not to take everything too seriously or worry unnecessarily. Now, I will not be touching on these study tips because I know the next expert is going to touch on this. So I'll just skip this part and wrap up with this important information. I'm sure by now you're probably aware already that you are able to work during study, and these are the work opportunities available for you in Canada. You can work on campus with unlimited hours, and there are a lot of opportunities out there. So I strongly encourage you not to focus too much about finding work, especially in the first semester of your study, because you need to adjust a lot, right? There is language barrier, there is cultural barrier, there is new experience studying because most of you are probably from high schools, and this is going to be a totally different environment studying at university or college. So try not to focus about finding work first until you're settled. And even if you like to get into some of these experience, I strongly encourage you to start with on-campus first. And then once you are more settled, you can look for off-campus work opportunity, which is available for you up to 24 hours a week during school semesters. But during holiday or school break, you can actually work full time. Okay. But I strongly encourage you to look at co-op in your second or third year and so on, because co-op is actually one of the unique experience of studying in Canada is doing cooperative placement. And I encourage you to take this because this will be very beneficial for you during learning, but of course for your post-graduation work opportunity once you graduate. So with the PGWP, it can be up to 3 years, depending on the duration of your study. If it's a 1 year program, it's 1 year, unless if you are doing a master degree, then you're still eligible for up to 3 years. If you are studying for 2 years, you can get up to 3 years PGWP. If you are studying 3 or 4 years, you still can be eligible for a 3 year PGWP. So make sure you take advantage of this. Of course, if you are studying at a private college under curriculum licensing agreement, that program will not be eligible. If you are taking ESL, English as a second language, or French as a second language, or general interest or self-improvement course, those are not eligible for PGWP. But generally, for all degrees, S1, S2, S3, they are all eligible for PGWP up to 3 years. If you are taking a non-degree, so like a certificate, a diploma, or a graduate certificate or graduate diploma program, I hope you are aware of this. If not, do understand that based on the recent immigration regulations, whether you are now eligible for PGW or not, if you are taking a non-degree program, it will depend on your field of study. And keep in mind that this eligible field of study are going to be updated regularly. The representative from the visa section will touch on this. I will let her share the information in more details, but I just would like to remind you, if you are taking a non-degree program, make sure to check the eligible fields of study regularly, because the list is updated every now and then. So maybe if it's not eligible now, when you start your program, it may be eligible by the time you graduate. So keep an eye on it. All right, so just very practical information before I wrap up. If you would like to engage to the Indonesian Canadian community before you depart for Canada, there is an event that may be worth considering. It's called the Canada Day Picnic. As I've mentioned, we just celebrated Canada Day on July 1st. And we are actually going to celebrate with the Canadian Indonesian community in Jakarta via this event on Saturday, on July 12th at Hotel Borobudur. So if you are interested, take a screenshot of this and scan the QR code later for registration. You may see that the early bird rate is only until July 6th. So that means tomorrow. So if you are considering this, then I encourage you to register as soon as possible. Okay. And these are some of the online materials that I've referred to when preparing for this presentation. So you're welcome to take a screenshot, and you can check the website directly for much more comprehensive information. And these are our contact information from CI Indonesia. So once again, my name is Wely Kustono. I'm the director, and my area representatives are here in the group in this Zoom meeting as well. We have Mutiara for Jakarta, Joseph Gallen for Surabaya, and Levi for Medan. But basically, you can talk to any one of us. Send us a quick email if you have follow-up questions, and we'll be happy to answer them. But please use the Q&A session later on as much as possible. I hope questions are pouring in. If you have any questions, you're welcome to submit that in the chat box so we can address them together. Because I'm sure when you have a question, that's probably the question that other people have as well. Thank you so much for listening.